All right, we'll go ahead and call tonight's special meeting to order. Renee, if you would show all board members present except for Mr. Satterley. If you would join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've had a request under under consent agenda to separate personnel other from items 1 through 5. Is there a motion that would like to approve tonight's agenda with that amendment?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. White. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Pavey. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right. Thank you. So tonight's agenda has been approved. We have no public comments, correct, Renee? All right. So we have a little bit of a change in our agenda, and tonight is the first meeting that we are implementing the change, so bear with me. Instead of going right into consent and action, we're actually going to do our presentation pieces first. So the first one is board planning, which also includes goals and strategies for the corporation. And Dr. Mellon, will turn that over to you.
Board, as you know, legislation has been impacting education for a long time, particularly in the last several years. I had the opportunity to attend a presentation by Governor Pence that was in Corridon here recently, in which he provided a roadmap, 2014 roadmap for education. And I just thought I wanted to talk to you for a few minutes about it. I think that it probably is a good idea for us when it comes to legislation to have conversations amongst ourselves publicly, but also making sure our public better understands the impact of some of these things. Because one thing that politicians do answer for is they answer to their voters. And so if we make sure that our stakeholders in Greater Clark County Schools have a full understanding of what the legislation or the philosophies are out there, then that helps. So I just thought it would be important to share this roadmap the governor made public. The first piece was something I agree with in a lot of respects. I think we all do, and that is the need for pre-K education. It's necessary. We need to have mandated full-day, fully supported kindergarten first. We're close, but it's not fully there yet. But I would like to see that happen. But pre-K education is vital, and it's part of our strategic plan, by the way, also. So we're excited about the possibilities of pre-K occurring in Greater Clark. And what the governor is proposing is that dollars be provided to fund up to 185% of the federal poverty level vouchers that would allow families to go to preschool. It could be a private or a public preschool. Now, obviously I'd prefer any funding to come to public schools. But the reality is, if we can do something to enhance the opportunity for kids to come to preschool, then we need to do everything in our power. So one of the things that we might want to be thinking about as a school district is, if these dollars do become available, how are we going to compete with the private entities that are out there providing preschool? First of all, do you want to compete with them? If so, how are we going to do it? Because there are facility implications and staffing implications. So no answers tonight to any of this, but I wanted to at least get it out in front of you so it's something to think about. He's creating a competitive environment for preschool. And if that's going to happen, getting preschoolers into our school system at 4 years of age, let's just say that's the age, that's beneficial for us as a school system, as we've seen with the advantages of full-day kindergarten. So the second thing was to create an Indiana Teacher Innovation Fund to support teachers who improve student outcomes. So again, this is a vision that he has, and he obviously wants to reward those educators who are innovative in their approaches, and he wants to help fund those so that those are things that could be implemented in other classrooms in school districts. I'm all about innovation and anything we can do to help improve students. So that is another big step in his vision. The next is support teachers who move to underperforming public schools and charter schools. And this is a Choices for Teachers program that he's referring to, and obviously he's looking to make it more attractive for really good teachers to want to go teach at charter schools. Well, with all due respect, we don't want to lose any of our good teachers to anybody. So I respect the governor's approach, but obviously it's hard to support that vision as it's currently laid out. Improve charter school performance by allowing charter school networks to manage their funds with the same flexibility as school districts. Well, that's interesting because in our public school financial environment, there's not a lot of flexibility for us. So there needs to be more flexibility, especially in those tax-supported funds, to be able to maneuver dollars around to make decisions that are beneficial to your school corporation, as opposed to being locked into these dollars have to be used for capital projects and these dollars have to be used for bus replacement, etc. So I think the idea of more flexibility in budgeting is a good one, but obviously we think it's important that it's true for everyone, including K-12 public schools. He wants to increase the supply of alternative high-performing schools by repurposing unused educational facilities. Obviously, he's looking to develop a statewide entity that would be charged with repurposing vacant or underutilized facilities. That would be interesting to see what they come up with and what their thoughts are. We have some facilities in our district that we have some serious intent to perhaps utilize that are not currently being utilized. The old Court and Porter building downtown, for example. We're keeping that because as we are conducting a facility study, that may be property that could come in handy for us. Strengthen career pathways by conducting a statewide return on investment assessment of career and technical education. Well, we are doing everything in our power from a college and career readiness perspective. We are very supportive of career and technical education as part of the whole process. So they want to study the impact of career tech and education programs and then provide recommendations. He has regional Indiana Works Councils that he's already established, and there's one in our region. Paul Perkins from Amatrol is the chairman of that group. Paul was kind enough recently to ask me to participate on that group, which I appreciate very much. So I think overall it's something that we can support moving forward. Increase the number of dropout recovery schools for adults who never completed high school. Obviously there's a need in our state to make sure our adults are properly educated so they're ready for today and tomorrow's workforce. He wants to create a performance-based program to equip underskilled adults for jobs in today's economy. That's part of that same concept. So those are just, I don't mean to be speaking for the governor at all. My point was to bring this out to you so that you were aware and just give you some information moving forward. And my biggest concern obviously is from the charter school perspective, there's a need within some of these programs to provide funding, and as a strong advocate, as we all are, of K-12 public education, it's hard for me personally, as your superintendent, to support that scenario, but there are other pieces of this that I think are moving in a direction with preschool and career and tech ed. I think there are some things there that have some merit, but I don't know if you have any questions or comments.
I'm quite interested in the the flexibility of the budget, what's going to come out of that and what that really means, because in my opinion, I think they've been very flexible with the charter school budgets in that they forgave all of those loans that never happened to a public school that I'm aware of. And sounds pretty flexible to me already. So, just my opinion. Second my opinion.
Any further? Thank you, Dr. Mellon.
You're welcome.
So with that, we'll move into policy review. We've got 2 policies that we need to review. Sandy?
Thank you. Good evening. This is, as Ms. Goki stated, just a policy review. We're actually still working on both of these. The first one is the student fundraising policy, and the second one, in item number 2, or policy review category G, is field trips. And the first one on fundraising, we have about 4 or 5 different fundraising policies currently in our policy manual, and we were looking to try to consolidate them. And in that process, we looked at Neola, because we do start with the Neola efforts after the first of the year, and found through the New Albany Floyd website that they have a student fundraising policy and administrative guidelines. So using that platform, we drafted the student fundraising and the administrative guidelines policy for you all this evening. I can tell you, in looking through that policy, there are a few things that we will be looking at enhancing and revising, and the number one issue is how many fundraising projects can a group, a school, or an extracurricular organization have on a yearly basis. Currently, our policy 1325 says that money-raising projects are limited to just 1 per class or extracurricular organization for each school year. This is one of the things that, before we bring it to you all for first reading, we'll be talking about it further, and maybe even between first and second reading. Of course, we'll take it to corporation discussion. But do we need to expand that 1 per class or 1 per extracurricular organization in today's lack of funds arena, or do we believe that that's appropriate to maintain just the 1 per? So, we'll be looking at that. We do think that some of the administrative guidelines with the Neola policy are good. Certainly, it encompasses the provision that students under the age of 18 are not allowed to, sell. They can sell raffle chances or games of chance activities. They just can't win it. It's just an odd Indiana gaming statute. So, we're working on this one. This is kind of a work in progress. We thought we'd let you take a look at it and see if you had any thoughts or comments.
Would you repeat what you just said about the games of chance?
Yes.
My understanding is that students are not allowed to sell.
Yes. No student under the age of 18 may play, participate in, or sell tickets for any of the following types of
I
fundraising events.
misunderstood you. I thought you said we
Bingo
could
games, charity games, raffle door prizes, activities related to pull tabs, punch boards, tip boards, and the like.
Okay.
I'm
That
sorry
doesn't
if I misspoke.
that doesn't
Yeah.
preclude our parent groups from doing that.
Right.
Okay. But students just can't do that.
Well, and the parents groups can do that, but if they're going to game, they have to have a gaming license.
Right.
So, then the PTOs are all very much aware, and many of them have already applied for and have their gaming credentials on file with the Indiana Gaming Commission. So, like I said, this is a baby step, step 1. We just wanted you all to be able to see it because it's a big issue on fundraising. Also, who needs to approve the fundraising activities or things we're looking at. We're going to try to pull some of that with the principal and the superintendent to avoid having to bring every miscellaneous little fundraising event to the board. for approval. Certainly, it's something that could be provided to you for your information on the amount of funds raised like we do currently, but we're trying to streamline a little bit. So that's what we're looking at. It's a work in progress. We'll keep you posted before it goes for first reading. Any questions or comments on that one?
Board, just, our parent-teacher organizations, a lot of fundraising is occurring through those groups.
Right.
And so that's a great thing that we have parents so engaged. But we also need to be considering that within, this policy, that how many is too many fundraisers. That's something that we need to give a lot of thought to, is how much is too much. But we will, if you have thoughts about that, or being able to provide so that we can approve these fundraisers, and maybe we provide a report to you on the status of fundraisers, either on an annual basis or a twice a year basis. Thinking about that, so that not everything necessarily from a fundraising perspective would have to be approved by you. Just think about those things moving forward, just out of efficiency perspectives, because as you know, we've struggled off and on throughout the year with different groups trying to get certain fundraisers going, and they're not supposed to start their fundraiser until approved by you. So if we can avoid some of that by either myself or a designee approving that would be helpful. So let us know your thoughts.
I would anticipate we will bring this one back to you all at the second meeting in January for, kind of cleaning it up and putting some more data and information in it, and then we'd look at bringing it for first reading in February. That would be your fundraising for students. The next one is on field trips, and we currently have policy 6153 on field trips. So if you just take a look at the policy that was attached, you'll see highlighted in yellow the items we're recommending be added into the policy, and there's some strike-throughs with things that we would be taking out. Basically, the intent of this policy is to allow the field trips that occur during the student day to be approved by the principal, central office administrator, and the superintendent, both at the elementary and the secondary level. So, if they're going to happen within the parameters of the student day, the principal can make the approval. It would come up to central office, one of the cabinet level, Travis, Amy, or Kim, to take a look at it for their concurrence that it does have a curricular type of basis, and then the superintendent would sign off on it so that the field trip could occur. If we have day-long things that are outside the school day or overnight field trips, we would still bring those for the approval of the school board. So we think that takes some of the work from the board, and we think it streamlines the processes. We get into situations where we've had questions as to why we're bringing a field trip to the board after the fact. And sometimes that's oversight on the part of the persons planning them and the approvals at the building level. This will certainly be something that we won't encourage to occur, but it might avoid some of those after-the-fact approvals. And we want to make sure that we have written approval from the parents or guardians on any of these student participation field trips. We added in there that if there's a volunteer participating in an overnight field trip, they have to have a criminal background check. Certainly, teachers or any persons that accompany students on any type of a field trip, but especially an overnight field trip, are prohibited from consuming any type of alcoholic beverages during the entire parameter of the trip. And when we do new teacher orientation, we always let the incoming teachers know that if you are taking kiddos on a field trip, an overnight trip, and once you put them to bed, that doesn't mean that your day is done and that you can go and, have a glass of wine or something and say, one day down. They are not allowed to consume alcoholic beverages while they are basically in travel status. So we added that into into this policy at this time.
Sandy?
So again, any questions on this?
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Okay.
On the field trips, number 12, says criminal background checks are required for any volunteer participating in an overnight field trip. We might want to add in there, criminal background checks are required and must be completed
Okay.
before a volunteer can participate. We want to make sure we have those back before they participate.
And I would suggest if hopefully we're moving toward a paperless society, that instead of a written letter of notification, it's okay, that we can get to some point where the parents can get online and communicate through using technology that, yeah, permission slip.
Thank you. So both of these, like I said, are work in progress. We just wanted to get them to you before the winter break for you all to take a look at, and this policy will probably be on the same tracking system as the other one. To look at it again for consideration, second meeting in January, and then for first reading for February.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Sandy? Thank you very much, ma'am. Dr. Dykle, you're up. We like good news, especially when it comes to money.
We completed our first year with American Express, and that was where we would call up the vendors, see if they would accept payment via American Express. We could earn up to 1.1% interest. It was a low-hanging fruit that we decided to go after. You gave us permission, and we ran $2.6 million through American Express. So we will be getting a check for $29,183 for that. And I just want to let you know it was through the efforts of Margie Fetter, Carla Wunsch, and Joni Roberts that made this all happen. And my hat is off to them, and we've expanded it to Visa. And when Visa is over with 1 year, I expect to see at least 50 to 70,000 coming from Visa, because more companies accept Visa than they do American Express that we deal with. So that's good news.
Good news.
And the check was not made out to Tom Dykle. I want you to know that.
And can you remind us what budget that money goes into?
The general fund. It'll go back into the general fund.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good job.
Next one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. These are the cash flows through November. We're looking at a projected cash balance in the black of $1,713,000 for the general fund. And again, remember, it was because we ended up getting $2.7 million in impact money. I always want to remind you of that. Otherwise, we'd be about $1 million in the red right now. Debt service and pension debt, there's really no activity until the next report, which will be the December report. Capital projects, we're looking at $54,000 as a positive black cash balance in that one. It should go up a little bit more because the tax caps that we were told we were supposed to get of $2.6 million only came in at $1.9 million. So that's going to be a nice savings. That'll be reflected in next month's report. So you see that. Transportation operating fund, we're projecting a $147,000 deficit, but again, that will be less because of the tax cap issue. So we haven't put that in yet because we just got those within the last 2 days. It'll still be probably in the red, but it won't be as bad. And then bus replacement fund, we're showing $163,000 in the red, and that also will be reduced because of the tax caps. And then the last one is the rainy day fund. We're at $3.5 million, almost 3.6, and then you'll see a deposit going in this month for the CPE that we have to borrow for the project Lead the Way. So we're paying that back. So other than that, we're holding our own, and it's starting to look positive. Any questions?
Questions, comments? All right. Thank you for keeping us updated.
Thanks.
college and career readiness.
Well, Board, I had the good fortune of hosting about 30 individuals from our community. Christina was there as your representative last Thursday with a college and career advisory. We had a few members that were not able to attend because of other commitments, but who are committed to the process moving forward. I feel really positive about the outcome as we are moving forward. And I thought what I would do is, I won't take as long, but because you're more familiar with some of these concepts, but I thought it would be helpful for you to at least see the presentation, and so you were familiar with it, and then perhaps it's something we could be making available on our website. Again, I talked about the purpose of the advisory, and I think a key factor is that you have people from business and from government. You have workforce partners. You have K-12 educators from our school system, and you have post-secondary partners from IU Southeast, Purdue, as well as Ivy Tech. So I felt really good about that. And the whole idea is that we want everyone on the same page talking about what's necessary from an educational and workforce perspective to make sure that our community can thrive. I went over our slogan, Bridging Excellence and Opportunities, and what that meant. You've heard that before from me. I went over our vision and mission, focusing from a mission perspective on meeting the needs of our students so that they're accepted to a post-secondary opportunity. Strategic planning perspective, I made sure the advisory was aware that it's built into our strategic plan that we have a goal, that our graduation rate will meet or exceed the state goal, and ensure all graduates are accepted to a post-secondary educational employment opportunity. I shared with them these key metrics. You've seen them before. They're part of our strategic plan. I wanted to make sure that they were aware that we're actually measuring things. It's not something that's just all words. And so I shared basically these connections from a college and career perspective, where we are relative to the state. Went over the current job market and shared with them some things. They may know this, they may not, but 53% of recent college grads in this country are either jobless or underemployed. And half of the new jobs in America do not require a four-year college degree. And in fact, millions of jobs are not filled because of a lack of qualified workforce. We heard of Dr. Zhao at the superintendent's conference, and he's done extensive work in this area, and he calls it a talent mismatch. So there are a lot of people that are graduating in this country with a high level of education, but the jobs don't exist out there matching. So that is why it's really important from a counseling perspective that our counselors are helping kids identify those hard skills that they possess as well, and soft skills, and really what potential interest areas they have relative to the jobs that are going to be out there over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And so I think that the people present, I think that they really understand that, because they need people that are highly qualified who are prepared for jobs in their industries. The last part was Dr. Zhao also talked about the new middle class in this country needs to be creative jobs, people with creative jobs. This country, with the advances, manufacturing is important, but if you look at advanced manufacturing, so many jobs are done by machines now. So what do you need? You need people that are creative, that can create new products, create new services, create new jobs. And that's what Dr. Zhao was talking about. He called it entrepreneurship-oriented education to enhance human talents. We need to, so all this testing focus that we have to have because of accountability, we have to be very careful. Dr. Zhao doesn't care for it at all. But the reality that we face is that we still have to make sure we're held accountable to that testing, so we can't ignore that. But the key is to find the balance between that and continuing to create creative individuals, entrepreneurial individuals. So I thought that was really a powerful statement. Globally, talked about global competition, China and India. The fact is they have more honor students than we have students. Sheer numbers. So the advantage our country has is our entrepreneurial spirit and our ability to be creative. In fact, Dr. Zhao mentioned at his presentation that China, for example, India, Finland, they're all dissatisfied with their educational systems, not because their kids are doing well on world standardized tests, but because they feel that their kids have no passion to do anything with it. There's no connection. So they're all achieving to do really well on these tests, but now there's not a connection within those countries as to how to create people who are innovative in entrepreneurial spirit. So those countries are still looking at the American system to try to see how they can induce more of that kind of spirit. I thought that was interesting.
Can I just say something?
Absolutely.
The foreign students that we have entertained in our homes, the one thing that they were not able to do was write their opinion on something. I sat at the table many times and said, "It's okay. What are you thinking?" They don't know how to do that, but they're very bright and they can pass the test, like you say. But they don't have that skill that our kids have.
Depending on the country, it may be given to them.
It's just amazing. That's amazing.
So I think, again, we're forced to find the balance between the accountability pieces, but we can't ever forget the value and importance of the creative side of things. As we know, China has the second largest economy. The big factor is that China and India, for example, their populations are so great, they have very highly educated people that are willing to work for far less. Mm-hmm. In fact, when I was in Fort Wayne, there was a company, advanced manufacturing company, that would hire beginning engineers for $60,000 to $70,000 right out of college for this country. They had to hire them for that amount. But if they went over to China or India, they could hire an engineer for $30,000. And with the technology the way it is today, those individuals could do the work from China or India and communicate and so on. So that's a challenge that we face in this country. And I think our people know that now more today than they did several years ago. So I talked about the initiative focusing on rigor, relevance, and relationships, connecting academic concepts to real-life applications. We talked about what this is going to do, that we're establishing pathways in our high schools. We use labor market research to decide that. The ultimate goal is for every pathway, every student will be in a pathway, every teacher will be in a pathway, and we'll create advisories for every pathway from our community citizens who will come in and help advise our teachers as to how to help make those real-life connections. Because sometimes as teachers are trained, they're trained so much regarding the theories and some of those elements, but to give some real-life applications so that when teachers are up in front of students, they can say to the students, well, to increase the relevance of this so you better understand why this is important, let me give you these examples. If you were an engineer, this is how you would use it. If you were in business, this is how you'd use this concept. But our teachers are going to need eventually to have more help making some of those connections. Some of our teachers will be able to do a great job with that because of their own connections that they have, but they won't be able to connect with all four pathways. So we're going to have to help with our communities helping in that endeavor. As you know, the four pathways that were decided by our team. Counselor role, I mentioned that earlier, how important that is, and we're very excited about what's happening. Our counselors are making, with the leadership of Travis Hare, our counselors are getting out to more companies. They're getting out to some of our post-secondary partners. That will continue to try to elevate their knowledge base so they can speak to kids, knowing what are those opportunities in their own backyard. Careers class, I mentioned to them, and how that's already underway and what the main purpose of those classes is. Project Lead the Way, mentioned the commitment that we've made there to some project-based learning programs that have been well received in all of our schools. Of course, the Naviance software that you had a presentation on, I wanted to make sure they understood. That's to help and assist our counselors as moving forward. The partnership we have with Junior Achievement, again, making those real-life connections, and we've extended that. Again, Travis has done a great job, especially at that high school level with our 9th grade careers classes. Mentioned the possibility of WorkKeys, that WorkKeys is an ACT product. It measures the hard skill capability of students inside of 3 testing areas, applied math, reading for information, and locating information. In other districts I've been in, Workforce Partners paid for every senior to take the test. It has been a paper and pencil test, and what it does is a certificate is provided to every student that shows their hard skill level and capability. They can take those certificates to employers, so employers can see that it's not just about a letter grade that they received in school, but there's another standardized, viable document that shows how competitive they are in terms of their hard skill. That's something that we're not committing to today. I want people to know it's something to consider. KeyTrain is a software product that is basically WorkKeys. It's web-based. You get freshmen to take it in the careers class, and then they can access KeyTrain at home, at school, and remediate themselves so they can improve their hard skills in those 3 areas. Here's something that really has some traction. Work ethic certification. In talking to Paul Perkins, the Indiana Regional Works Council, I've spent time talking to him about in other districts how we've done this. This was a program that was piloted in the East Allen County schools back when I was a high school principal. The state then took it over. After our year of piloting, it was highly successful. We did it just for our seniors. Then the state, in my opinion, took it down the wrong path, and it faltered and it fell. And I think that if we control it at our level in this region, there's a scientific criteria for this, that 6 of the 10 areas are evaluated based upon hard data that can be pulled right out of Power School. The other 4 require signatures of adults within the school environment. And I won't go into more detail, I guess, other than to say that this has a lot of traction in talking to our advisory. Because most businesses you talk to, when you ask them, what are those skills that are needed, that you need in your workforce? Almost in every instance, it's soft skill based. Yeah. We need people that are punctual and responsible and can work as a team, and they don't necessarily mention, even in the top 3 or 5, the hard skill ability. So the work ethic certificate would be a document that a student would earn. And as a result of it, they would be given this document at the senior awards or whatnot, and it would be a document that they could walk into an employer and hand to the employer, that this is a criteria. And so therefore the business community has to recognize the certificate. It has to have some merit and some power. So if I don't have it, a work ethic certificate, and Christina does, and we're walking in and trying to get the same job, it would certainly be my hope that the person that has the work ethic certificate would be more highly considered for the job than someone who doesn't. So we'll pursue that. And then the Jobs for America's Graduates program, which you're familiar with, we talked about that. This whole idea of eventual career development centers, 1 in every high school. You'd have a director and a secretary. You would have, the director would be a certified teacher. They would coordinate internships and career resources, not only in the school but throughout the community. The internship program, the goal would be that we'd want all of our students by the time they graduate to have done at least an internship in a career area of interest. I went over all the potential school business partnerships. I won't go over them here now. Board, you probably have seen these, and we'll make them available to you. But there are many different ways, and go ahead and if you just scroll down through that a little bit. Many different ways that people can partner with us. And here's the key. To be a partner for us at Greater Clark, you don't have to partner in every single one of those areas, but we need you to partner in at least one of those areas. So whatever fits the actual business organization. Here was a timeline we talked about. We've already implemented the 6th and 9th grade careers classes. We've identified academies. We've established the college and career advisory. Our purpose now, we're going to meet again in February to develop a plan, begin to develop a plan of action. We want to orient our middle school and high school staffs to this process between now and the end of the year. And we want to have every 6th through 11th grader identify a career pathway by the end of the year. And we don't care whether their pathway changes from day to day or week to week. I don't really care. But what I do care is that when we walk into a building board and we're having a lunch, and you walk up to one of the students, you should be able to say, well, what pathway are you in? And they should be able to tell you what pathway they're in. That's the goal. And why? Because that means they have a focus. That means they're striving for something. And if they change it the next day, that's okay. But what I worry about today is developing kids that have no clue what they want tomorrow. And they may be taking classes in high school or missing out on taking classes in high school that would greatly benefit them. And then they'll go invest in a college education paying tens of thousands of dollars only to figure out 4 or 5 or 6 years later that why did I just spend all that money on this degree? Because it's not getting me a job. Or it's not at all what I'm interested in. So that's why this whole initiative is so important. And then you can see 14, 15, we want to organize student, staff, and advisory members into pathways. Begin a work ethic and work keys program. That might be aggressive from a work keys perspective. Really start working with our teachers to help them identify how to connect concepts to real life applications. And then start planning, at least planning on how do we improve our project-based learning instructional base. So at least next year, start talking about how we provide that level of professional development for our teachers that probably would begin in that 15-16 school year. That was a lot faster than maybe not fast enough, but it was a lot faster than it was last Thursday. You know what, board? This is an umbrella initiative that everything else fits under. Everything else that we're doing, our impact program, our goal clarity focus, our technology one-to-one, our literacy, all of this helps to feed this college and career readiness piece. This is the umbrella that ties everything together. And we have a lot more work to do. This isn't all going to happen tomorrow. It's a 3 to 5 year implementation phase. So we're only in year 1. But I think the key is that we have to keep moving forward. But any questions or comments you have, I'd be happy to.
I'm excited about the work ethic certificates. I think that's something that the kids, it's tangible, and the kids can, they see it. And I think it'd be interesting too to see if we couldn't recognize the kids at graduation somehow for those kids that earn that certificate, because it's a big thing.
It's huge, whether, giving them another color of a cord or whatnot, something that's very visible so
right.
Everyone can see. When I was the principal of New Haven High School, the thought was that this was going to be easy. I had 250 graduates, seniors, and 180 earned the certificate. So, and we had some kids that wondered why. And long story short, there were 4 areas in which they had to have the signatures of 3 adults in the building. And these related to things that weren't easily measured. They had to be things that teachers could observe. And teachers went into a room, and every student's documents were laid out, and the teacher had to sign off or not sign off on the students. And we had kids that could not get the signatures of 3 adults in that building because they did not possess some of those skills. And I had one student that came to me and was extremely upset. And I said, well, you need to understand that you do not have 3 adults in this building that believe that you possess that characteristic. And you know what? It may make you unhappy, but it should be a wake-up call to you.
That's where our counselors can be so important, not wait till their senior year, but
Correct.
point out to them that they're not going to be eligible for it if they don't start doing X, Y, and Z.
Correct.
I'm excited about that piece. I like that a lot.
Any further comments?
Well, just a couple. I made a couple of notes here, but we're very involved in junior achievement at my place of employment. I mean, we bring kids in, we sit them with adults and let them see what real world looks like. Do we have anything like that for the teachers, to where they get an opportunity to get out and see, where they can tie the skills that they're teaching into a real world experience? I mean,
Couple things. Our counselors are at least getting out there, but let's talk about one of the partnership pieces. In one of the school systems I was in, we called them educator externships. And in the summertime, we came up with dollars through grants, where it was, I think, $500 a week, and the teacher would go and work at a company for 2 weeks. So they'd get $1,000. And so the company wasn't paying for it. They were allowing the person to come in and get actual experience. So one of the examples was a teacher went to the Fort Wayne newspapers. He was a journalism teacher, and he worked for 2 weeks, and he went from over the 2 weeks, and he worked several days in every department. So he learned the state of the art as it relates to reporting and writing and graphics and photography and sales and production. He learned every single one of those, state of the art. And by doing that, now he became a much stronger teacher when he came back in the classroom. So we paid for teachers to go out. So that's a partnership. Are you as a business willing to allow a teacher to come in to your organization for whatever length of time? It could be on a week or 2 or 3 weeks, but we paid teachers a stipend to do it. And we had many teachers take advantage of that opportunity. So it is our hope that we can get that built into this plan.
that would be huge, I believe. And then the other question I had was on the work ethic certification, kind of back to Teresa's point. Is there any endorsements that go along with that? I mean, if I walk in with a certificate and say, I've got my work ethic certification, if it came back and it's endorsed by the Greater Louisville Business Association, or something to where you can tie that back to say that really means something, or Southern Indiana Business, or whatever.
That'd be good.
I think that what will happen, in knowing Wendy Dant Chesser a little bit, I think that will be something that at least they would step up and endorse. We'll utilize them and other entities, but exactly, the only way it works is a student has to know that it has a meaning. So when they take that certificate somewhere, because I have it and these other kids don't, then it should give me a leg up. It may not be a guarantee that I'll be hired, but if I'm in a competitive environment and I have it and you don't have it, it should give me a leg up. Right. And businesses have to buy into that. And if One Southern Indiana and other organizations do that, that's usually how it plays. And the Metro Manufacturing Alliance, which is part of One Southern Indiana, that could be huge with that group. Right. And we have a member that's on our advisory from that group.
I'll just give you all a report. Since I was at the meeting, I saw a lot of excitement and energy amongst the advisory members. They were grateful that we're focusing on preparing kids that are ready for real world, employment, college, certifications, military, whatever it is. They were very excited, and they were excited to be invited to be a part. So it was a really good first meeting. Very good.
Sounds like it. It's exciting.
Well, I appreciate your support of what we're doing with this, and we're only getting started. And of course, we'll bring it back to you. I think the key is you can have an advisory, but if you don't start to develop specific action steps, then you'll lose the power. So the advisory has to come together in February. We've said this. Here's this vision or these ideas, but how does that translate to this area? What does it have to look like? And what's everyone ready to commit to? So I'm looking forward. That'll be in the end of February. We'll have our next meeting, and it would be a hope that maybe not that meeting, but one more after that, then we'll be able to have maybe a final document. It would be my hope to have 2 meetings, but we'll see. I mean, if it takes longer, it'll take longer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We'll take items 1 through 5. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jerry. Any questions, comments, discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving items 1 through 5 as presented, please raise your right hand. All right, that's 6-0. And then we need personnel other. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions or discussion? All right, all in favor of approving item 6, personnel other, as submitted, please raise your right hand. And opposed? All right, that's 5-1. All right, we have gifts to buildings. And Mr. Satterley is not here.
So we can't accept it,
So,
right?
Ms. Teresa, would you like to talk about those?
Sure. I always like to talk about, no, I got it here. Thank you. Over $6,000 worth of donations given to us this month, and you know, as you can see, it's a variety of organizations and individuals who have seen our school corporation as something good to invest in, and our students something good to invest in for sure. And you know, the donations go anywhere from $50 to $1,000, and they're all very important to what we're trying to do with our students. So appreciate that very much.
So would you like to make the motion?
I move that we accept these.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Any further discussion or comments? All right, all in favor of accepting gifts to buildings, please raise your right hand. Thank you. That's 6-0. All right, next we have a few action items that need our attention this evening. The first one is a resolution on appropriations.
Yes, the State Board of Accounts requires that all of our accounts and all of our funds have a positive balance by the end of the year. So what we're asking, you know, we know that when we set up the budget, it always never aligns to the way we set up the budget versus the expenditure. So this gives me permission to go ahead and move money around within each of the funds to balance them out. That's what the resolution's asking for. This is something we do at the end of every year.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions? Discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the resolution on appropriations, please raise your right hand. All right, that's 6-0. Then we have a CPF appropriation transfer.
Yes, this goes along with the prior one. Basically what we're doing here is we're moving money from land and acquisition and CPF to technology services, supervision, and personnel, mainly because we added the e-learning coaches after the budget was already adopted, so we didn't have the ability to transfer the money at that time, so we're just doing it now at the end of the year.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Teresa. Second. Thank you, Mrs. Kraft. Any questions? Comments? Okay, all in favor of approving the CPF appropriation transfer, please raise your right hand. And opposed? All right, that's 5-1. And then we have a bid award for biodiesel fuel and unleaded gasoline.
Yes, every year we come before you and ask for approval of a bid for the whole year, and we had 3 bidders this year, and Petroleum Traders Corporation was the low bidder. For item 1, unleaded gasoline, it was 4.64 cents per gallon on top of their lowest rack price. And then the biodiesel fuel, bio blend, low sulfur, was 4.29 cents per gallon based on their rack price.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jerry. Questions? Comments?
Do they transport that here?
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna transport it all the way from Fort Wayne cheaper than we could have it from...
I'm sure there's other local dealers that they
Okay.
deal with.
I was gonna say, okay.
But that's where the home office is, that's where the bid came from.
Right.
The cash goods.
Because everybody doesn't have biodiesel fuel. Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor of awarding the bid for biodiesel fuel and unleaded gasoline, please raise your right hand. All right, that's 6-0. tax anticipation warrant bid award.
Yes, we received bids on December 11th at 10 a.m., and we actually had 6 bidders. We had some from across the state. The low bid for the $8 million came in at 0.68%, which is pretty good, darn good.
That's pretty good.
And that's PNC Bank. They're across the river in Kentucky. And their low bid would cost us to borrow $8 million, $54,101.92, and we had them range all the way up to $118,000. So we're asking to award to PNC Bank.
Does that make anybody else besides me want to go bid their mortgage? Jeez. Lord have mercy. Sorry, I need a motion.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great work
Yep.
on that, by the way. All right, next we have a contract with Rauch Industries, or Rauch Incorporated.
Board, this is a contract that will provide supervision of a student at Rauch Industries as part of that student's final transition from school to work. And this contract is similar to the one that is held with New Hope Services, but it is more expensive because Rauch is providing services to a student who is much more severe in terms of disabilities. The costs associated with this grant will be paid out of federal funds.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jerry. Questions, comments? All right, all in favor of approving the contract with Rauch Industries? That's 6-0. Thank you. Next we have the Indiana Arts Commission grant.
If you have driven around downtown in Jeffersonville, you've seen exhibits of different pieces of art that have taken place and been installed over the last year. Much of that has been a quiet partnership between Greater Clark and the Jeffersonville Arts Alliance. The materials that have been used have been donated materials, but it's really added kind of a nice spark. The Alliance approached us about applying for an Indiana Arts Commission grant. We did, and were awarded $5,000, in which will serve as the basis for the materials for upcoming projects. The nice things about these jam sessions is what they're called. Our teachers also are able to get professional development, our art teachers, by participating with them. So they've been great outreach to the community and has brightened up really the downtown area.
So I need someone to make a motion to accept free money. Thank you, Mrs. Kraft. Is there a second?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Teresa. Comments? Questions?
Beautiful artwork. It's incredible.
Glad you applied. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right. Grant accepted. Thank you. And then last, we need to accept graduation dates for 2014.
Board, under our new balanced calendar, the school year was to end for students on June 1. We've already had 2 school cancellations, as you know. It's pushed back the end date for the school year to June 5 for students. When we discussed this balanced calendar, one of the concerns, last year we had our last day of school on the date of commencement at Jeff High. And that was a very difficult, taxing day for everyone to try to make sure that everyone had their obligations complete. You're trying to prepare for commencement. And so we talked about the fact that we needed to move our commencement dates back to give people more time to make sure that everyone was completed with all their obligations, that schools could make sure that kids had ample time to complete those obligations and prepare for commencement. So our proposal, our recommendation, is June 13th, a Friday night, and that would be New Washington High School. Jeffersonville High School would go to 10 a.m. on 14th, and Charlestown High School at 1 p.m. on the 14th. That order is what the schools wanted in terms of that order, and the dates may sound like, do we really want to wait that long for commencement? We do. because you never know what's going to happen over the next several months. And I've been in those positions as a principal where I had to even have kids come back to school after commencement. And it just makes things much more complicated. So I think if we can get these dates out right now, people can plan accordingly, and I think we can be okay.
And it isn't even winter yet, so.
It's not winter yet. That's
Is
right.
there a motion to approve the graduation dates as presented?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraft. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions, discussion?
Yeah, Dr. Mellon, I apologize if it was thrown my way and I didn't catch it, but why isn't there no built-in snow days in our calendar? Would you run that by me again?
Sure. The decision to have no snow days, as our committee met and talked about it, is most of the time you try to build in. Let's start off with certain dates that some other districts use. Martin Luther King Day, President's Day. Those are dates that are nationally recognized, and it's best to make sure that you continue to honor those dates regardless of weather conditions. Some districts do use those as snow days. Intercession. Intercession, as you know, the very first week of that, we have hopefully over 1,000 students that will be involved in intense intercession, and we don't want to touch those. We want to provide that extra intervention time. The Oaks is another day that has been used as a day for snow makeup in the past, but our concern as a committee was people will take that day off anyway, and then we have all kinds of issues with subs and so on. So as we kept looking at all the days, it didn't make any sense to build any in, and just to go ahead and add those days to the end of the year. And you never know how many days you're talking about. I've done it many different ways in my career, and this has generally been the best way to do it. But that's what the committee's decision was.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor of approving the 2004 graduation dates, please raise your right hand. All right, that's 6-0. And with that, we'll move into board comments or reports. Mr. Hall, you have anything?
Yes, I want to congratulate our Dr. Mellon and our building and maintenance people for installing new lights at Charlestown High School in the main gym. It saved money in the long run. Easy on, easy off. I think it give a lot of flexibility to the athletic department. They look outstanding. They did a great job. And they put them in both gyms.
Thank you.
Teresa? Jerry?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Kraft?
I just have a little thing I cut out of the paper that I think is important that we all know, and I made each of you one on a card. And that's it. It just says who's going to pay and who's responsible for ensuring our children are not affected by the toxin of child poverty in America. We all are and will pay the price of neglecting to build strong children. It's true.
Thank you.
I just need to be reminded of that. Thank you.
Mr. Pavey?
Nothing, thanks.
All right, and I have just been reminded that we do have a public comment tonight, so we'll go ahead and have, I'm not sure who that person is.
Mr. Denton?
Oh,
Mr. Frank Denton?
Mr. Frank Denton.
Somebody out there in that big crowd.
Yeah.
You're going to talk
There are
to us
not many
tonight?
options.
All right, well,
Okay.
welcome. I think you know the rules. 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
That long?
Yeah. Do you have anything that you need us to have in hand?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
No, this is basically teachers doing things, but not just teachers, but other people, educators around this table. And what got me thinking about this was Nancy. I saw her at the concert, the band and choir concert. I don't know if she has children there now or grandchildren or nieces or nephews, but I think she just was there to support the kids, all the kids. And she came out, and parents were there, and she came out just so positive. She says, those kids are wonderful. They are remarkable. They did fantastic. And just so often, it's not just the teachers. I mean, I told you teachers, but it's a lot of us here that we you just don't know what little thing you do makes a big difference to those kids. I know a teacher just not too long ago had a kid in her class that played the trombone, and that kid said, I'm not going to play concerts tonight. I'm not going. And the teacher said, you need to be there. That's part of your grade. That's part, you know. He said, no, my parents aren't coming. I'm not going. But the teacher said, no, I got some other meetings. I got to be at church and I got to do this. But tell you what, I'll try my best. I'll try and be there to see you. Well, the teacher got there in the middle of the last song of the whole concert, and then was outside the door, and the kid came out and said, you're here. And the kid didn't know they were only there for a little bit. But the kid was just overwhelmed that the teacher had come and made the effort. Mm-hmm. And I think just that little thing made a difference to that kid and makes a difference to so many. I noticed all around the school and school corporation, boxes of food, canned food, boxes of cereal, just all kinds of things getting ready to Center for Lay Ministers and other that we, all the schools and the administration are collecting and trying to help out. I myself, with a group of other people from my church, delivered 12 baskets to needy families just last night. And as a teacher, I haven't been in the classroom lately, but I count myself in. The presents, I know it's presents upstairs, and I know you do a lot. And teachers around the corporation, all the schools, the principals, paraeducators, bus drivers hand out candy bars and what have you to kids. You wouldn't believe just the little things here and there that make a difference to our kids and to our community. The lunch with a student, here's one. The kid's having a hard time, doesn't get the test done, doesn't get the paper done. Teacher takes their lunch. I was talking to this teacher today, and he says, tell you what, I can call your parents, or you can come have lunch with me and we'll get this finished together. Well, the kid got in there and got that finished together. So that made a difference. Was mine 30-second thing?
It's all right.
Well,
go ahead.
Clubs and summertime, downtime for teachers and others. We do things to prepare for the kids. We work extra. We stay after school, even past their work time, just making sure they get safe on the bus or they get off the bus okay. We're there early preparing and after school doing work, and all of us are. And I just think it's just such a positive thing that we have going on, and I just wanted to bring that out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Frank, teachers build assets in kids every day, and it's amazing what teachers can do or not do for a student. Thank you for your comment.
Yep.
It's nice to have somebody go up there and say good stuff. Thank you for sharing all that with us. All right. To close out, Mr. Hall, do you have anything else besides the...
No, ma'am.
Okay. Teresa?
Well, Frank kind of took some of my thunder away. I was going to talk about the concert. I didn't get to go, but thanks to some folks who, I guess Aaron did, and somebody else posted it, did a YouTube and posted it. I have shared that. I've sent it to people who have graduated from Jeff I, like I have many years ago, who live in other parts in the country now, and said, this is Jeff I. This is a public school, and it just gives you goosebumps when you listen to it. And I posted it on Facebook. I put, yes, this is Greater Clark County Schools, the best public education money can't buy. So there you go.
Nice.
Jerry?
Just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And
Absolutely.
And Frank, convey to everybody that this board greatly appreciates all the teachers and everything they do and all those extra things that we do notice and we do know and we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Mrs. Kraft?
That's it.
Okay. Mark?
Well, myself, Mr. White, and Ms. Gilkey, along with Dr. Mellon, had the opportunity to go into Bridgepoint yesterday and have lunch with the students. And I guess your comments were timely, Frank, but you walk down the hallways and these little kids you've never even seen before are just waving at you, and it's like they get all excited and they don't have a clue who we are, but it excites them to see somebody else there. And I think it really grounds me to what we're doing, that's what it's all about. We get tied up in bonds and all that stuff, but when you go back to what happens in those schools, I mean, it really grounds you. So anyway, I very, very much appreciate your comments tonight, so.
They stole all my thunder.
Sorry.
Did they?
Hope everybody has a great holiday and a safe holiday and enjoy your families. And our next meeting will be January 7th. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Mellon.
A couple of things quickly. We also had Tony and Kevin and Nancy went to New Washington Elementary for a board lunch, and getting into the schools and getting into classrooms and just seeing what's happening. I really appreciate you taking the time and making an effort to do that. And I know all of you as board members are trying to do that, and I think it's being noticed, and it's a positive thing. So I want to thank you for doing that. School grades, we were hoping that we'd be able to talk about those, but they're embargoed until Friday, the 20th. So they'll come out, and we'll come back in the first board meeting in January, and we'll talk about it and recognize our schools that were A schools, and we have many of them, and we're very proud of that fact. Also, I'd like to recognize some people that have completed some coursework toward their PhD, and today and yesterday they had to take their oral prelims, and having to be around them for the past few weeks, I will tell you, I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of them because what they're doing is they are pursuing something that not many individuals in this country will earn, and that is a doctorate. They're doing it while they're working full-time, helping to do great things for the school corporation, and at the sacrifice of their own families. I'm very proud of them. Three of them, at least three of them were here. Travis Hare, Kim Hartledge, Amy Schellenberg, Jennifer Corfage, Tim LaGrange, and April Holder. So we have people that are all highly involved and highly engaged with families and with school, and they're doing something that's taking many, many, many hours. And I'm very proud of them and glad to have them on our team. So I just wanted to thank them. Have a great, great holiday, please.
All right, with that, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Moved.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jerry. All in favor? All right, good night.